before Led Zeppelin, before Slow Hand, before Beck's Bolero, there was one band, a band that, in just 5 years, quietly altered the course of rock music history. A band that didn't just launch careers, it launched legends. The Yardbirds were not only one of the most interesting bands to come out of the British invasion, they were arguably the most important, second only to the Beatles, in shaping the future of rock. Why? Because 3 of the greatest guitarists to ever walk the planet, Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck, and Jimmy Page, all came through this one band. This is the story of how one group, born in the backrooms of London clubs, became the launching pad for rock's most iconic guitar heroes, and how their musical DNA still echoes through everything from hard rock to metal to psychedelia today. It started in 1963, when vocalist and harmonica player Keith Relf, rhythm guitarist Chris Draja, bassist Paul Samwell Smith, and drummer Jim McCarty came together in London. They were steeped in American blues and Randy B, a sound that was exploding among British youth, and they had a raw, aggressive energy that set them apart. They called themselves the Yardbirds, a nod to jazz great Charlie Yardbird Parker. But their sound was far from bebop. It was fiery, gritty, and alive. Their first major break came when they were chosen to replace the Rolling Stones as the house band at the Crawdaddy Club in Richmond, the same venue where the Stones had made their name. That move put them in the path of their first guitar hero, a 17-year-old blues purist named Eric Clapton. Clapton's style was technical, emotive, and deeply rooted in American Delta blues. Fans nicknamed him Slow Hand, because when he broke a string mid-performance, he'd change it on stage while the audience slow clapped. With Clapton, the Yardbirds gained credibility among blues aficionados and built a strong live reputation. But things changed when their manager and producer Giorgio Gomulski pushed them toward a more commercial sound. That shift culminated in 1965 with the release of For Your Love, a moody, minor-key track written by Graham Gouldman. It became their biggest hit, but Clapton hated it. He felt the band was selling out and abandoning the blues roots he held sacred. So he quit. He recommended a young session player to take his place, a guy named Jimmy Page. Page turned it down, not wanting to leave his lucrative studio work. But Page had another idea. He suggested his friend Jeff Beck. Beck was a different kind of beast. Wild, experimental, and fearless. Where Clapton was precise and reverent, Beck was chaos and innovation. He brought in fuzz pedals, feedback, Eastern scales, and a reckless abandon that pushed the Yardbirds into uncharted sonic territory. Songs like Heart Full of Soul, Shapes of Things, and Over Under Sideways Down didn't just ride the wave of psychedelia. They helped create it. Beck's guitar screamed, sang, and snarled in ways no one had heard before. But his genius came at a cost. Beck was notoriously difficult, moody, perfectionistic, and sometimes unreliable. His tenure with the band lasted barely a year and a half. Still, it was enough to leave a permanent mark. In that short time, the Yardbirds had gone from blues-based Randy B band to psychedelic rock pioneers. In 1966, the Yardbirds did something unexpected. They hired Jimmy Page after all. But with Beck still in the band, Page agreed to join as the bassist temporarily. That decision created something magical, if fleeting, the twin guitar lineup of Beck and Page. Their most iconic moment together may be in Michelangelo Antonioni's cult film Blow Up, where they perform a chaotic, feedback-drenched set that ends with Page smashing his guitar on stage. It was one of the earliest on-screen moments of true rock. But the Beck-Page era didn't last. Beck left the band, again due to tensions, health issues, and unreliability, leaving Page to take over lead guitar duties. Under Page's guidance, the Yardbird sound grew heavier, darker, and more experimental. Songs like Happenings 10 Years Time Ago and Think About It laid the groundwork for what Page would later perfect in Led Zeppelin. You can hear the seeds of Zeppelin's entire aesthetic in those tracks, the layered guitars, the Eastern-inspired scales, the explosive riffs. By 1968, the Yardbirds were running out of steam. Key members left. The band wasn't clicking creatively or commercially. But Jimmy Page had plans. He agreed to fulfill a set of Scandinavian tour dates under the name The New Yardbirds. But to do that, he needed a new band. He recruited session bassist John Paul Jones, a young powerhouse drummer named John Bonham, and a golden-throated singer from the Midlands named Robert Plant. The new Yardbirds went on tour. But very quickly, it became clear that this was no longer the Yardbirds. This was something else, something bigger, something heavier. They changed the name, allegedly after a joke by The Who's Keith Moon, and became Led Zeppelin. The rest, as they say, is history. But here's the thing. Without the Yardbirds, none of it happens. No Clapton leaving to form Cream. No Beck revolutionizing rock guitar. No Page fusing blues and bombast into what will become metal. The Yardbirds weren't just a band. They were a crucible, a forge where the most powerful elements in rock were shaped. Today, you can still hear their influence in every fuzzed-out guitar solo, in every blend of blues and distortion, in every musician who ever dreamed of taking it to the edge and then leaping off. The Yardbirds never fully got the credit they deserved. But now, you know, one band, three legends, a legacy that echoes through every note of rock that followed. And it all started in a smoky London club, with a name borrowed from a jazz great, and a sound that would shape the future. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe to the Echo Lab for more deep dives into the hidden stories behind music. Your support helps this channel grow and keeps the echoes going. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.